So Travis Williams. So where are you from originally?
Oh, I'm from right here in Phoenix, born and raised.
And did you ever spend any time outside of Arizona?
Spent a little time, went to Brigham Young University for undergraduate, then came back here to ASU for law school.
And ever do you do a mission?
Oh, yes. I did a mission for my church in the Midwest. Kansas, Nebraska. None of those fancy places like Brazil you hear about, but...
And so when they tell you where you're going on your mission, and they tell you like Kansas and Nebraska, is there like a moment of like I'm supposed to be going to Brazil?
Well, my mother, I played a trick on her. I pretended that I was read Chile or Argentina just to throw her for a loop. I really wanted to go to Russia. And then I thought about these poor saps standing in line for 4 hours for bread. And I thought, no, somewhere here in the States would be good.
So it worked out. How was your Midwest life?
You know what? It wasn't quite as Midwestern-y as you would think. I was in the inner city my whole mission. So I was in the rough areas of Kansas City, Wichita, Topeka, Omaha. And people may not think that they have good inner cities or large inner cities, but they do.
And so, is this like on your list of like places that you now really like the Midwest, or are you like, well, I did my part in the Midwest, and now I'm kind of done with it?
I love Kansas City, and I would go back to Kansas City to the restaurants and the malls and the plaza, but I probably wouldn't go back to the neighborhoods where I was in before.
And when you talk about restaurants in Kansas City, what sort of food do you eat?
Oh, barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, amazing barbecue.
Best barbecue in Kansas City?
Well, there's some main restaurants like Arthur Bryant's that everyone kind of knows about, but it's the smaller, off to the corner of the neighborhood restaurants that are the best. And they're probably not in business anymore, but those are the best ones.
And when you were just kind of doing the mission, would people just say, here's the best place like in the neighborhood to have barbecue, and so you get your selection that way?
Yeah, or they would make it for us, and that was usually really good.
So are you like a wet barbecue guy, or do you like the dry rub? What sort of barbecue?
I anything that's messy. It's got to have a lot of sauce on it and you got to get messy.
Been to Memphis?
No, never been to Memphis.
I took my wife there, and I took her to Rendezvous, which is like the best dry rub ribs that you can ever have. So maybe we'll convince you eventually. Been to a Peabody Hotel, by the way?
Yeah.
So that was our big trip in Memphis, to go to the Peabody to see the ducks come down the elevator.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh, okay. So it's like a big Peabody thing. It started in the Memphis one, and so the ducks like live on the roof, and at like 5 o'clock, they have like everybody's at the bar, down in the lobby, and down the elevator come the ducks. They walk across the bar like on a red carpet.
I've never heard of that.
And I took her to Graceland, so
yeah.
I was like the best. They're probably married by then. I was gonna say the best young husband. So.
I've been to Nashville and went to the Opryland Hotel and restaurants. That was amazing. I guess the flood didn't wipe it out, but it affected it. But
so why become a lawyer?
I guess it started with family. My dad was a lawyer, and he was in-house counsel for Del Webb, and he helped to build Sun City and Sun City West. And he eventually left and developed on his own, and I worked for him, and guess I kind of got the bug.
So that's the reason, part lawyer, part real estate developer. It's kind of like a family trait.
Yeah, kind of got into it that way.
And so now that you are a lawyer, what sort of clients do you like working with?
My favorite client is a small to medium-sized business that they may not have used lawyers before, but they got themselves in a little bit of trouble, and so now they use lawyers to kind of stay out of trouble. And I love to help these businesses with whatever they have. If they're forming a new business, if they are hiring new employees, if they're signing new contracts with vendors or subs, I love to help them with that.
What stuff don't you like?
Well, the only thing I've done that I did not like is divorce work, so don't give me any divorce work.
Was that the sort of, was that when you were in this last iteration?
Yeah, I had a client, he was a great client, and he said, hey, can you help my buddy out with his divorce? And it's like a porcupine, you touch it once, let someone else do it. They don't enjoy it.
We had one of those here, Shannon, my paralegal at the time, Heather,
Yeah.
had some friend or something. And so Shannon was handling it, which then resulted in me having to handle it. That's a very good example of something that you don't like. So of all the things you're working on now, what's kind of your most interesting thing that you're working on?
Right now that I'm working on, there's, again, it's some smaller businesses, hard money lenders, I guess you could call them businesses, a restoration company. And it's going back to helping them with whatever paperwork, whatever contracts they need right now. And it seems like every month or two they come back to me and say, hey, look, I need to set this up or I need to set that up. I need to admit this member. What do we need to do? And I just do all the contracts and paperwork necessary to do that.
And those clients, how do you meet them?
Those two clients that I referenced were word of mouth. They heard about me and they came to me and started with something small and they liked the work, so they ended up giving me more work.
So what's the worst part about being a lawyer?
The jokes, maybe? I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind. It's work. It's not always fields of flowers, but it's still work, but it's enjoyable.
And so you've been here now for 5 months, 6 months almost.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what do you like most about working here versus kind of the past versions of the career?
Well, in past versions of the career, I've been with firms, and I've been with a home builder, and I've been on my own. And those were all good experiences. But my last experience was kind of more or less being on my own. Being here with the Frutkin Law Firm, the people are great. I really enjoy the people I work around. But it gives me an opportunity to bounce my ideas off of others. I didn't have that so much before. And here it's real collaboration.
And so why is that important?
You know, I like to think that I'm a smart guy, and I know a lot about the law, but you really know just a little bit about the law. And when you're around other attorneys and you can bounce off ideas or say, hey, you know, I've never come across this before, chances are they have, and so you're able to talk with them about it.
All right, so I assure you that this isn't the case, but let's pretend you get a 1-month vacation. Paid, of course.
Of course.
So what would you do with that?
Well, I travel a little bit of it, but the rest of it I would probably just stay home and be around my kids a little bit, and then probably take them all to Europe or Hawaii or something.
What do your kids do during the summer? Like what goes on with the Williams house?
Well, much to their chagrin, they're all signed up for a swimming team. So they got to get up on their bikes and ride to school at about 6:30 in the morning and swim for an hour.
And what's the kind of, is that just like to teach them discipline of doing a sport and like going in and doing it every day? Or is it that they like swimming? Why the swim team?
Swim team, one, it makes them become stronger swimmers. It does. They hone their skills on the different strokes. But two is a little bit of discipline. And three is a little bit of get your energy out early in the morning, and probably makes it easier on mom the rest of the time. Our one daughter, she's 10, that gives us the biggest grief. She's actually very good. She goes to the city meets and gets, you know, she's not first place, second place. And she's very good at it, but she doesn't like to extend herself to go and do it. So we have to push her a little bit.
So how about you? Are you an exercise guy? Are you a swimmer? Or do you
Don't I look like an exercise guy? When I was a kid, I used to swim a lot.
We have a tight shot on you right now.
When I was a kid, I used to swim a lot. Nowadays, not as much as I'd like to. But yeah, when I was a kid, I used to swim quite a bit.
That's interesting. Were you on the swim team when you were a kid?
No, back then we lived in West Phoenix, and they didn't really have that option back then. So
That was just like how you spent the summer days, like in the pool.
yeah, all day long.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
So what else do the kids do during the summer? They go to camp or like do something else during the day, or just hang out at home?
Our oldest will go to camp for a week or two, and then the rest of them will. I have 4 kids total, so the younger ones will probably just reading clubs and playing with friends. So
There's 2 types of kids. There's some that like love reading clubs, stuff like that, and those that just hate it. Are
Yeah.
your kids more like they really like reading?
they love to read. I don't know where they got that, but they love to read.
Do you still read, like for fun?
If I find the right book, but I'm pretty picky. If it's the right book, I'll devour it in a few days. But it's hard for me to get started with a new book. I don't like that.
What sort of books kind of grab your attention? Like what's the genre of books that would give a shot of getting into
Yeah,
your...
they want to have a shot. The historical nonfiction. I'd like to have, I don't like straight history books, but I like books that kind of put you back then and really you get to know something you didn't know before.
And in kind of the more recent time, what kind of period of history have you found most interesting when reading?
I was given a book for Christmas called Killing Kennedy, and it's about JFK, and it talked about his conspiracy to kill him. And really, though, that when he was shot, that was really only the last chapter or 2. The rest of it talked about his administration and his influence with Hollywood, and it was very interesting.
You know that my favorite story is that I took AP History in high school, and our teacher had a theory, which is if we learned everything up till the end of World War II,
Mm-hmm.
that was good enough for the test. And so there was, a series of questions, and you could pick which essays. You get like 6 choices, and you could pick like 3 to write an essay about. I decided I was going to write about the 1968 election, which of course we didn't cover. I thought it was such genius. Isn't it funny how stupid you are as a kid? I did, of course, barely pass that history exam. So was history a favorite class of yours in college and everything, or is that a newer passion?
Newer passion. Back in high school, college, it was, I guess history played a role. I mean, my major was political science, so it comes into that. But no, science was always my thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And when you were a kid, were you thinking about being a scientist? Was that like obviously no one wants to do what their father does. So was that kind of the path that you saw yourself going down?
Yeah, I think so. I had the chemistry sets. I would make stink bombs and all sorts of strange smells. That was kind of what I thought I'd go into.
Stink bombs specifically?
Yeah.
You ever think about like being a doctor, or was it just like I want to be a chemist?
Yeah, it must have been just a chemist because I never thought about medical field.
That's really an interesting thing too. Like when you're a kid, you like to mix things together a lot. Like that's a normal kid thing, I think.
Like 7-Eleven when you fill your drink with all the different, yeah.
Yeah. Still think a little bit of that. All right. Any other topics, Amy, that you find interesting? All right. All right. Let's make sure this tape isn't a total disaster.